For the first time in the history of the city, multiple incumbents were defeated in the preliminary elections for Boston City Council. That includes Ricardo Arroyo, who lost his 5th district seat, representing Roslindale, Hyde Park, and parts of Mattapan. Next month, Enrique Pepén will go head-to-head with José Ruiz for the job. José Ruiz is a retired 29-year veteran of the Boston Police Department. He joins me now. José, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, listen, pleasure is mine. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, why don't we start off by you telling our viewers why you're running in this race?
So first and foremost, I want to let people know that I'm a son of Boston. I came into the United States with my mom and family when I was 2 years old. I've grown up primarily in the South End, but I lived in other neighborhoods. I feel like I've been adopted by every neighborhood. I'm comfortable wherever I've landed. My mom is probably the most famous Afro-Latina in the city of Boston. She's one of the founders of Villa Victoria. So I walked in her shoes. I got to do a lot of things that she did. So I've enjoyed my ride.
So let's talk a little bit about the issues. Just this week, the City Council, where you hope to work, approved the federal grants, I think about $3 million, for the Boston Regional Intelligence Center at the BPD, your former employer. You know, BRIC, as it's known, is where the gang database is. You know, if you were on the council this past week, would you have voted to approve those funds?
So before I get to the answer, please, let's not paint the Boston Police Department with the same brush as is in the United States. And also we have to remember that we got to diversify the BRIC. The BRIC is just not gather intelligence of gang activities, but any activities, whether it's white supremacies that we've had issues in the past, whether it's watching over our parades or anything like that. It's more than just gathering intelligence on gang members, but it's also keeping our neighborhood safe. I would definitely have voted in support of it, but I want people to understand, too, that there was a shooting of 5 family members in Franklin Field, which would have been earmarked for more cameras in that area. I'd rather have the cameras there and hopefully solve the crime, but we couldn't do it because no cameras weren't there. On the 4th of July on Edgewater Drive along the Ponset River, 47 shots rang out, 47 shots. We're earmarked over there for cameras. We didn't get them there. That could have been 47 people dead. So I'm in support of public safety.
So let me ask you a little bit more specifically. The incumbent councilor, Ricardo Arroyo, has been vocal about his desire to abolish the gang database, talked about all of the flaws it's in, its discriminatory nature, or at least the disparate outcomes from it. Would you want that to stay in place?
Well, first and foremost, there is no community, there is no neighborhood, there is no togetherness unless there's public safety. Without public safety, there's only probably chaos. So I tell people all the time there has to be some type of component of law enforcement in order to keep things in check. If not, then we go back to being serfs and everybody else and doing it our own way. That's not how we're set up. We need the police. We are the police.
So to be clear, though, on the gang database, you want that to stay in place?
Absolutely.
Would you do anything to reform it, or anything on the city you think the City Council should do to make sure that there's no discriminatory outcomes out of the gang database?
And then I would say that I have to remind people that it's already transparent. And I ask people, what more transparency do you want? More than anything else is checks and balances where civilians who are involved to actually review the information. People forget that the Boston Regional Intelligence Center is not just the police. It's local, state, and federal, which includes civilians that are constantly review it for fairness, not only towards the citizens, but also the police who respond to these calls.
Do you think that, though, in this database there's a disparate outcome when it comes to, for example, surveilling black and brown residents of the city versus white supremacist groups? For example, when there was a white supremacist march in Boston that took law enforcement a little bit by surprise, you know, that was kind of floating under the radar. Do you think there's a disparate outcome there that ought to be addressed with the database?
It always has to be addressed. Listen, I'm Latino. I'm a third black. I'm a third European influence, and I'm also a third of indigenous Indians there in Puerto Rico. I'm sorry, but my mom, again, is an Afro-Latina. Am I concerned about black and brown people? I am related to a whole bunch. So, yes, I am there to defend everybody.
Okay. Well, so let's move on because we only have so much time. I wanted to ask you about, you know, Mayor Wu, what you think of her tenure so far. Part of your job as city councilor will be to be a check on the mayor. How do you evaluate her performance over the last few years? What would you like to push her on should you be elected to the city council?
I want to remind people if the mayor's doing well, the city of Boston is doing well, the state of Massachusetts is doing well. No one's going to be a bigger, better advocate of Mayor Wu than myself. Is she doing a great job? No. Is she doing a good job? Yes. Am I going to constantly push her? Yes, absolutely. So to rate her at this point, I'd like to rate her after 4 years.
So what gets her from good to great?
So from good to great, I would say good. I said, you know, saying someone they're excellent or beyond anything like that's unfair to them. She's good and she's a work in progress.
Yeah. But what do you think that progress ought to be? Where do you think?
I would hope that, you know, she continues her visibility. I would hope that she continues her inclusion of people. I've been an agent of social justice all my life. I'm going to say I've done things without wanting to do the fanfare. I know that she has to do a lot of things without fanfare. If I had to push her on anything, I would say get out there more. I know it's tough that she has a family. I know it's tough for her in her position. But she's got to understand she works 24/7. That's what she signed up for. And then she has me, who will always be her supporter, be there. She'll call me. I'll be there.
What are your top priorities if you're elected? What would you like to get done in your first term? What do you think the most urgent issues facing the city of Boston are?
First and foremost, you know, I think everything is a priority, but I want to talk about traffic. I grew up in the South End, which was dense. Listen, my brother on a bet once said, can you beat the number 43 bus from downtown to the South End? I beat it by 8 minutes running. And I was all of 15 years old. I tell people all the time, traffic has always been here in the city of Boston. We need to condition our folks to take alternate means of transportation. We talk a lot about the bicycle lanes. The Boston Globe a couple of weeks ago wrote up where there's 80 miles of bicycle lanes, but less than 2% of city of Boston residents who identify themselves as bicycle commuters. That's not a happy medium. I look forward towards the future because I mentor a lot of young people, and I listen to them. They have my ear. I want it to be their future, but it's also my future, too.
So how do you decongest the roads? Do you think there should be more bus lanes? Do you think, do we have enough bike lanes? What do you think we should do?
With less than 200 bicycle commuters in the city of Boston, I would say you need less bike lanes. And I think you need to talk to folks, too. I mean, in the South End, where I grew up, it went from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, and they added more bicycle lanes. If you speak to the people of color, black and brown, they're opposed to it. If you speak to the incoming people who have been there less than 5 years, they say it's more. There's not a happy medium there. In West Roxbury, the neighbors, the residents who walk those streets are opposed to new bicycle lanes. So now we're going to have people who are the outside, who don't live there, who are influencing bicycle lanes. That's not fair to the residents.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's a hot topic that there are residents on both sides of this always. You know, it does become a heated debate. But how do you get people out of cars then if you don't make room for alternate modes of transportation? If not bikes, do you think bus lanes? Do you think we should have more bus lanes?
Again, things have to make sense. I know the big issue over in Mattapan is the creation of bike lanes over on the Blue Hill Avenue. I want to let you know that if you speak to a ton of people over in Mattapan or that in the Dorchester, they are horrified on the discussions of bike lanes down Blue Hill Avenue. We also know that Mattapan Square, like Roslindale and West Roxbury and those areas, are the gateways and also the exits out of the city of Boston. Well, narrow roads. Welcome to my small city with narrow roads. We're going to make them more narrow. That doesn't make sense.
All right. Well, Jose, we're going to have to end it there because we are out of time. But thanks so much for joining me today.
I appreciate you.